When Emily Thompson died in a car accident, she expected to be welcomed by peace. Instead, she found herself trapped between the realms of the living and the dead, forced to confront the dark secrets of her past. Now she must unravel the mystery of her own demise before she's lost forever in the echoes of the life she once knew. Emily Thompson had always believed that life after death was a peaceful rest. She imagined it as an endless sleep, a quiet oblivion that let her leave behind the noise, the mistakes and the regrets that weighed on her chest. She never imagined that when her time came, she would wake up in a place so dark, so oppressive, that she could almost feel the walls closing in around her. The accident had been sudden. A flash of headlights, a screech of tires, and then nothing. She had been on her way home from a long day at work, tired and distracted, when her car swerved off the road. The crash was violent, her body slamming against the wheel, her vision going black. When Emily opened her eyes, she was no longer in her car. The air around her was thick and heavy, and the silence pressed down on her like a weight. She was standing in the middle of a hallway that stretched endlessly in both directions. The walls were covered in peeling wallpaper, the floor slick with an eerie sheen, and a cold draft stirred the air. It felt wrong, like she was somewhere she shouldn't be. She tried to call out, but her voice was swallowed by the silence. The only sound she could hear was the distant ticking of a clock, echoing somewhere in the abyss. Emily stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest. As she walked, she noticed that the hallway was lined with photographs. Her photographs. She stopped in front of one, and the image seemed to pulse with life. It was a picture from her childhood, her smiling face surrounded by family. But something was off. The eyes in the photo, her eyes, didn't look right. They were hollow, empty, like they were staring into something far darker than the photo itself. A chill ran down her spine. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her. Whipping around, she saw a figure standing at the end of the hallway. A tall woman, draped in shadow, her face hidden beneath a veil. Emily's breath caught in her throat. "Who are you?" she called, but the woman didn't respond. Instead, she began walking toward her, each step deliberate and slow. Emily's body tensed as the woman got closer, the air growing colder with every step. The woman's face was finally revealed. But it wasn't a stranger. It was Emily, but not the Emily she knew. This version of herself had dark, hollow eyes, and her lips were curled into a sinister smile. The woman's face was covered in tears, streaked with a darkness that seemed to seep from her very skin. "You should have stayed," the woman whispered, her voice hollow, like it had been dragged out of some deep, forgotten place. "You couldn't even save yourself." Emily stepped back, heart racing. "Save myself? What are you talking about?" The woman's smile widened, her eyes growing darker, as if she was pulling Emily into a pit of despair. "You think you were the only one who suffered? You think you could escape it all? You left everything behind. And now you'll never leave here." The walls around Emily seemed to close in, the hallway stretching and warping as she backed away. The dark version of herself kept moving toward her, growing larger, the shadows of her form swallowing the light around them. "No!" Emily gasped, stumbling back. "This isn't real! This isn't happening!" But deep down she knew it was. She felt trapped. This place, this cold, hollow hallway, wasn't just a space. It was a manifestation of everything she had run from in her life. The guilt, the mistakes, the people she had hurt and left behind. And now, it was coming for her. "Please," Emily whispered, the words barely escaping her lips. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." The woman's eyes narrowed. "Sorry won't save you. You left everything behind, and now it's your turn to be forgotten." Suddenly, the ground beneath Emily's feet cracked, the hallway splitting apart. She felt herself falling, plummeting into an abyss, darkness wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket. She screamed, but no sound came out. Just when she thought she couldn't fall any further, everything stopped. She opened her eyes to find herself back in the car, the same place she had been moments before the accident. But this time it was different. The car was still, the crash never having happened. The quiet, oppressive silence surrounded her. Emily was alive again, alive in a place that wasn't quite life, but wasn't death either. "Am I dead?" she whispered to the empty space. A voice answered her, cold and distant. "Not yet, but you will be." Emily turned to see the woman again, standing beside her now. This time, the woman's smile was gone, replaced by a hollow stare. "You'll never escape the consequences of what you've left behind," she said, her voice echoing in Emily's ears. The car's headlights flickered, and the road ahead stretched endlessly, disappearing into the dark horizon. Emily knew that she could never go back to the life she once had. The guilt, the regrets, the unspoken things, everything she had tried to escape, was always with her now, and there was no place she could run. As the woman's words echoed in Emily's mind, she realized that the true horror wasn't death. It was the haunting truth of what we leave behind, the fragments of ourselves that linger, even after we're gone. Would she ever be able to face the darkness she had created, or would she be trapped in a nightmare of her own making, forever lost in the echoes of her past?